Hello students, today we are going to discuss about singleton classes. Singleton class, very simple. It means that the class may contains only one instance. Instance means object. The class contains only one object. If I am creating more than one object to the classes, all the objects are pointing as single classes, so single instance. Okay, so for implementing singleton classes, we want to follow three different rules. One, the first rule is the class must contain one static instance. So we have to create one static object in the classes. Static object can be initialized only once, because already we know what is static variables. Static variables are initialized only once. So like that, we want to create one static object. The object memory can be initialized only once. Then we have to create as one private constructor. One private constructor we want to create, because if I am creating private constructor, the class is going to prevent the developers to create the object from outside the classes. So outside the classes we cannot create any more object to the classes. So if I am using private constructor, object can be created only within classes. Outside the classes, if we are trying to create the object, we cannot create the object here. And third step, we want write as one static factory methods we want write. Factory method is one type of design patterns. This factory method always produces the object. Produces object means it always produces the object and return to the function call. So if you want to implement any singleton classes, you must add these three things in the classes. One is static instance, one private constructor you want to add, one static factory methods you want to add. Static instance means the object can be initialized only once, and private constructor can prevent the classes to create the object from outside the classes. The factory method always produces the object. So if you want to implement singleton classes, we must achieve these three conditions. Let's go for some practical example about singleton classes. So first I am taking as one package name. So here the package name is called as P1. And I am going to take as two different classes. So the first class name is called as bank customer, and second class name is called as a transaction classes. The class name is called as bank customer, and another class name is I am going to take as transaction classes. Transaction. There are two different classes I am taking here. One is that transaction, another one is bank customer. Now this bank customer classes I want to make a singleton classes. So singleton class we want to make a note on this one. So we want to represent as one in the right side corner of the classes. So this bank customer class we want to make a singleton class. If you want to make a singleton classes, we want to follow these three rules. One static instance you have to create, one private constructor, and one static factory methods you want to create. So I want to add this all the things here. So first I want to create one static instance. So I am creating static instance here. So take a instance name is BC, and the instance name is object. So I want to create the class name here. So object type is bank customer. So I have created one that is a static instance. BC is my instance name or object name, which type as a class name, that is bank customer. Then I want to add one more thing, this private constructor I want to add. Private constructor we can represent with the minus symbol. So this is not a static. Private constructor is minus. So I want to write the constructor here. That's the bank customer. Customers, there is a constructor not having any return types. So by default return type is the class name. Then I want to add one static factory methods. factory method always produces the instance. Instance in the sense object. So if any method is returning object, the return type must be class name. So very simple. If you want to achieve a singleton classes, we must add these three things in the classes. One static instance we have to create, one private constructor we want to add, then one static factory methods we want to add which returns the object. Now remaining methods, members and access values are optional one. So I want to add the remaining members and methods. So I'm taking here members as a customer name. Let's take customer name as a C name, and this is not a static. I'm going to take as non-static members. As a string. Then you want to take one more parameter, that is account number. This one also I can take as a ling or I can take as a long. Then one more simple parameter I'm taking as a balance, and this also I'm going to take as long. So these are some instance number I taken here. Then I want to add some instance method like withdraw, deposit and check balance. So I want to add the first method as a deposit method. You have to pass some argument as amount, long, and return type we can take as void. Then one more method I want to add here, that's withdraw method. These also you want to pass the parameters as amount and as long. This method we can take as a type as a boolean, so we want to know whether it is a withdraw successful or failure. So last method I want to check the balance, and there is no argument which returns only as long parameter because I want to check the balance. So these are the methods, additional methods I am added to the singleton classes, and these methods members we want to provide the access specifiers. So I am going to return as a class level modularization. So if I am written as private here, it's not possible to access outside the classes. So I am going to take everything as a default. So we know how to represent default symbols. So we can represent the three symbols. These all default symbols. So all the members and methods are default members, and the transaction class, there is no any members here. I'm going to add only method as main methods. Which returns the void. This is the design you can use to understand. So bank customers is singleton classes. We're going to access the transaction classes. Transaction class want to access all the bank customer data. Now bank customers is singleton class which have one static instance, one private constructor, one factory method, and some other instance method and members. Now this is simple design. This design we want to implement through the Eclipse. Okay, go to Eclipse, you want to implement the designs. So package P1 I want to create the class name called bank customer. And one more class we want to create called as transaction classes. Which contains the main method. And first you want to implement the bank customer classes. This class contains one static instance we want to create. So I'm creating one static instance, that's bank customer BC. So bank customer is a class name and BC my instance of the classes or objects. So this is nothing but static object. Static object. One static object is created. Then we want to add one private constructor. Constructor name is a bank customer. So one private constructor is added. Then one more thing you want to add, one static factory methods you want to add here. Static factory methods. And this factory method always returns the object, so return type must be class name. So very simple, if any method is returning object, the method return type is class name. So I have added 3 different methods. Now the bank customer class became a singleton classes. So there is one static instance created, BC, one private constructor is added, one static factory method is added. Now these classes become a singleton classes. Now we want to add the remaining members and methods. So I have a members here, that is string, customer name, then long, that's account number, then long, one more thing is balance. So these are some instance number is added in the classes. Then I have some instance method also here, like void deposit methods. So deposit method you want to pass the argument as amount. Then one more method you want to add, like a boolean methods, that's withdraw method. You want to pass the argument as the amount. And last one more method is called check balance. So that method is returning as long value. So these all additional methods and members added in the classes. So customer name, account number, balance, deposit, withdraw, check balance, these all additional method to the bank customer classes. Now we can go to transaction classes. I want to add all the data. So I want to get the input from runtime. So I am taking as one scanner class object, sc equal to new. At end of the main, you want to close the scanner classes. So this is scanner class added. Now I want to create the object of the bank customer classes. So customer creating different object here. Customer ATM. So I want to create a ATM as object. I am creating as new bank customer. Let's see the output. You see here ATM is my object, bank customer is a class name. I am trying to create the object from outside the classes. So bank customer is a class. So I am going to create the object from outside the classes. See, this in particular line is getting error. Why? Because the bank customer class having private constructor. If I am having private constructor, this class is going to prevent the to create the object from outside the classes. So here I cannot create the any more object. If I am creating object, that will be error. So only option is there. I want to call only as factory methods. So this factory method is static method which produces only object, because return type is given as class name. So this method always produces the object. So we can call the static method from outside the classes through the class name. So bank customer is class name. I want to call the factory methods. So I call the factory methods now. Bank customer dot factory methods. Factory method is static methods. Static method can be invoked from outside the classes through the class name. So class name is bank customer. Now I called the customer classes. So here I want to check this one whether the static memory is initialized or not initialized. So I am taking this one if BC equal to null. BC equal to null. If BC value is null, I want to initialize value here. That is memory I want to initialize new bank customer. You see here, if BC value is null, I am taking as BC equal to new bank customer. So the new bank customer nothing but I am calling constructors. So constructor is available in the same classes. So here I want to initialize the customer name, everything I want to initialize. So let's take customer name, I want to initialize here. So let's take some names here. I'm taking as name as Raju. Then I want to write account number. Account number I want to take as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is account number. Then I want to take initial balance equal to 1000. So first method I called the factory methods. I'm checking BC equal to null because it is static instance. By default static instance value as null value. I'm checking BC equal to null. Condition is true. I am writing in memory here BC equal to new bank customer. Constructor is called. By default customer data is initialized. Now this factory method want to return the object. I'm going to return the value as BC. Now the factory method is returning object BC. Now go to transaction classes. You see here the ATM is object and I call the method as factory method. This method always returning the object name as BC. Now BC is returned to here. Now the ATM object and BC both are pointing the same memory locations. Suppose the user want to create one more object also here. I am creating one more object. Let's take object name as UPI. So this UPI is an object, so I can call the constructor. So I have to call one as factory methods. Now again I call the factory methods. Let's go to the classes, customer classes. So BC equal to null. Already BC object is initialized because this is static variable, static instance variable. It can be initialized the memory only once. So this statement line number 15 will be executed only once. So already BC memory is initialized, is not a null value. Directly I can return the value as a BC to the function call. So if you call second time the factory method, the function can return only BC values to the function call. So now UP also pointing as same memory BC. Now let's see examples. ATM object and UP object and BC object. Both all three objects are pointing on single memory locations. So if you do any changes through ATM object, the UP also will get changed. If I am doing any transaction through UPI, the ATM also will be get changed because all three instances are pointing on single memory locations. Now we want to write a menu driven course with the different objects. So I want to write as one boolean variable. Let's take a loop equal to true. Then I want to write as while operations, while of loop. Here I want to display the users. First one, transaction, that is ATM transaction. So customer want to do the transaction through ATM. Then option number 2, let's say UPI transaction. Then option number 3, check balance. Then others, exit. Now I want to add the cases. Let's see which case I want to write. So I'm writing as case 1. So option 1, I want to do transaction through ATM. So by using ATM, I'm going to deposit my amounts. So I'm writing as ATM dot. I'm writing method name as deposit. I want to pass the arguments. So next long. Then break the cases. So case 2. So I want to do the transaction through UPI. So I'm writing as one UPI. So object name is UPI here. I'm going to write as withdraw. Withdraw. So I want to pass the arguments. It's long. And withdraw method is the boolean method. So we want to evaluate whether withdraw is successful or not. So we want to write as the return type here. Let's take this one. If it is true, that is withdraw successful. Else, so withdraw is not successful, maybe insufficient fund. So we can display message as insufficient fund. Then we can write as break. You see here, case 1 I'm going to deposit the amount through the ATM, and case 2 I'm going to withdraw the operation using UPI, and case 3, so I'm going to check the balance through ATM. So I can write as balance checking operations. So balance equal to, I'm checking balance through the ATM dot check balance. So default option, last options, I want to break the switch cases and as well as while. break. Now we want to fill the methods. So I'm going to the customer classes. So deposit, I want to increase the balance value. So balance equal to balance plus the given amount values. Next withdraw. So I want to check the amount values. So withdraw amount must be less than the balance value. If it is less than 1, it is possible to withdraw here. So I can write as balance equal to balance minus the given amount. Then you can write as return true. If condition is false means there is insufficient fund, we cannot do the withdraw operation, so you can write as return false. And check balance method, you want return the balance value, so that way can return the balance value, return balance. Now all the methods are implemented. You see one, the singleton classes we want to implement, one static instance we want to create, one private constructor, one static factory method which produces the object. Now transaction class also completed. So here I have written as main option here. Option number 1 ATM based transaction, option number 2 UPI based transaction, option number 3 check balance, and remaining are exit. So here I create two objects, ATM object and UPI object. So here I cannot call the constructor because class contains private constructor. We cannot create the object outside the classes. So I called only factory methods. This factory method always produces same object BC. So here ATM object and UPI object both are pointing same memory locations. Then I am returning as case 1 ATM based deposit, and case 2 UPI based withdrawal operations, and case 3 ATM based balance checking. So this is class is implemented, it execute the programs. Now we can see the outputs. So I given us option here, that is the ATM based transaction. So ATM based transaction I am going to deposit the amount. So I am going to deposit value is 2500. So I want to check the balance. So option number 3, I am going to check the balance 3500 because ATM based deposit, ATM based balance checking 3500 is applicable. Now I want to go for option number 2, that is UPI based transaction. So I want to go for withdraw operations. Let's take this one, I want to go to withdraw 500 rupees. Now withdraw successful. Again I am going to check the balance 3. So balance is updated here 3000. Now very simple this one, you can understand. The ATM object and UPI object both are pointing only single customers. Right? So if you do any changes through ATM, the UPI object also will get changed, and if you do any changes in the UPI object, the ATM object will get changed. So here we can achieve singleton classes. So if I am creating more than one instance to the classes, all the instances are pointing only same instance, that is first instance BC. So here BC is a common instance to all objects. So this is the way we can achieve the singleton classes. Thank you. Thanks for watching.